Didn't press the start button. Let's try that again. Hello, everyone. I think we had a small technical difficulty, so now we are officially getting started. And for those of you don't know, we are The Good Life Abroad, and we're going to be explaining all about the program today. This is being recorded and will be sent to you by email tomorrow, a copy of the recording, and feel free to share it with anyone who might be interested. And also, we will be doing Q&A toward the end of this. And please use the Q&A box in the Zoom toolbar. Do not raise your hand to ask questions. Do not use the chat box. Use the Q&A icon in the Zoom toolbar to ask questions. So without further ado, let's jump into this webinar. I am Andrew Motiwala. I'm the founder and CEO of The Good Life Abroad. And I'm joined today by our special guest, Marlis Samler, who is one of our program alumni from Florence. Hi, Marlis.
Hi.
Introduce yourself to our fine audience today.
Well, my name's Marla Sandler. I'm a retired teacher from California. I now live in Florida, and I went to Florence last November for a month with a friend. We rented a two-bedroom apartment, and we had such a great time that we are both going back again to Lake Como in September.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you. And thanks for joining us. I think our audience will really appreciate hearing the unvarnished experience from you, just telling it from the heart. But let's back up a little bit. Let me just start with kind of why do we exist? So I've been in the travel industry for about 30 years, and over that time, I've heard from a lot of travelers who have been on tours that tours are great, but there's a time and a place, and sometimes, especially as we get older, that getting on the bus, off the bus, checking in on the hotel, out of the hotel, and just seeing things so fast is just kind of tiring. And they wanted to slow things down a little bit and also have a little more time to explore independently. It's funny, you went to Florence, Marlis, and I think the average American, if I remember correctly, that visits Florence visits for 2.5 days. And so you can imagine after being a month, this is a city where even after a month, it's like you can't get bored. There's so much there. Um,
Yeah.
so so then people said, all right, well, I'm going to just go live abroad. That's the kind of the other direction people go. I'm tired of going on a tour where I'm racing around. I'm just going to go live abroad. But then there's also questions that come up and people worry about, well, if I'm traveling solo, will I get lonely? Like what happens if I need medical care, if I don't speak the language, or the place I picked to live is not what it is, not what the photo showed. So all these questions that make just moving abroad a little scary and daunting. And so the idea of the Good Life Abroad is that we can remove these pain points. And our secret sauce is really community. By having a community of fellow travelers living around, but also having a staff person there supporting you, and having some activities and events sprinkled throughout the month makes it really fun, makes it safer, and less lonely, and having the insurance sort of is a nice safety net, so people can have the best of both worlds. That's sort of the little background on the Good Life Abroad. But I wanted to ask you, Marlis, think back. How did you first hear about us, and why did you decide to come with us?
I first saw an ad on Facebook a couple years ago, and I was intrigued by the idea. I'm kind of tired, like you were talking about bus tours, cruises, just not really my thing. Kind of tired of running from big site to big site. And so the idea of being somewhere for a month sounded wonderful. I decided to watch, since it was brand new when I discovered it on Facebook. I watched it for a year or so, and then um, made the move. And yeah, I loved everything about it. I love the idea of slow travel, and all of these things that you mentioned on this slide were, or the previous slide, were kind of concerns, like what if I get sick? And you have this level of security of knowing there are community managers there who know the culture, who know the area, who will look out for you, but you're independent and you have time to yourself, and you can really, it's the best of both worlds.
Great, thank you. So for those who don't know the details of the Good Life Abroad, these are the primary features. So we provide an apartment, been vetted for the needs of people 55 and older. and you are either in a building with other people in their own apartments, or in some cities, the apartments are in different buildings, but all within the exact immediate neighborhood. So you're in walking distance from each other. And then you have what we call our community manager. This is our local staff person, or in some cases, it's a couple of people that support the community, and they put on different activities and events throughout the month and are also there to support you individually. And we'll talk more in depth about the role of the community manager. In addition, we provide travel medical insurance, and we can get access to English-speaking medical care. So, and then we have this optional wellness program, which is basically if you are interested in doing yoga or joining a gym or doing Pilates, our local staff can help connect you to those resources so you can also maintain great physical wellness while you're traveling. So that's kind of the whole package in a nutshell. But now we'll be diving in a little bit more in depth in each of these features. But before we get there, we do have two types of programs. We have our month-long signature programs, and that's really what we'll be focusing on mostly today. But we also have our 2-week short stays. And they're very, very similar, slightly different. The short stays are focused more on smaller towns. It's only 2 weeks, 14 nights, versus our month-long program, which is 30 nights. Our short stays are more kind of full service apart hotels, and the signature month-long programs are truly independent apartments where you're kind of scattered in these buildings all in the same neighborhood. So it's a little bit different, but very similar. And all of them have the community manager, have activities and events in this sense of community. These are the short stays, and as Marla's mentioned, she'll be going to Lake Como with us, her second program with the Good Life Abroad. Me personally, I will be headed to both Edinburgh and Porto next month for our first sessions of short stays in those cities. These are our destinations for our 1 month signature programs, and those are the short stays. So as you can see, we have a wide variety of cities. And if there's a city that you want to go to that you don't see on that list, don't worry. We are always expanding. As Marla's can attest to, she's been following us from the beginning and make sure we're legit, and she's seen how we've grown over time, right? Um, and the good thing, well, one of the things we put out there is that you can use short stays and month-long signature programs either separately as standalones. But my original thinking was if you're doing a month, say in Lisbon, you might want to go and do 2 weeks in Porto so you can connect the two and extend and create a 6-week experience. If you're in Paris, you may want to do a month in Paris and then 2 weeks in Nice in the south of France. They create a cool 6 weeks, but you don't have to. Or what we found is a lot of people will do 2 weeks in Porto and then combine it with 2 weeks in Nice, and then maybe 2 weeks at Lake Como and create their own unique little 6-week experience. So these are just different ways for how these programs can work together and why we created them. We also have certain sessions that are specifically reserved for solo travelers. People ask us about this a lot. It's the exact same program. Now, that said, all of our sessions, and we'll talk more about this in depth, all of our sessions are very welcoming and inclusive to solo travelers. But we can't always guarantee the exact number of solo travelers in the group. So we did create some sessions where it's going to be all solo travelers, and those are listed on our website. Just mentioning we have this option in our programs is bring your own housing. So some people will say, money's no object, and I want to go for the, shoot for the stars, and I want to get some really unique luxury housing. Or other people say, I'm on a real budget, and I would prefer to go find my own housing. I'll find something that meets my budget. We have that option, and then it allows you then to still participate in all the community activities, have the support of our staff. You're fully part of the group. You're fully have the staff support. You fully have the insurance. The only thing it does not include is the apartment. And so that's another option that we have. So just wanted to get that out of the way, all the different kind of variations of our program. And let's go dive back into the features. One of the features that people ask me the most about are the apartments. Our apartments, what we try to find is not to be right in the middle of the tourist crowd, but just very close to it, right? So where local people actually live and work, and that there are grocery stores and whatnot. And all the apartments are modern, they're somewhat spacious. I mean, they're European, so they're a little smaller than maybe a typical apartment in the United States, but it's a different way of life as well. And these are kind of a couple of examples. But Marlis, can you tell us a little bit about your apartment in Florence and what was that like for you?
Yeah, we were in the Alterno district, which is right across from the main tourist area in Florence, and it's a very walkable district. A lot of artists in the area, a lot of restaurants. Um, we could we were on the fourth floor, and I do have to say that's one thing to think about is we didn't have a lift, an elevator, so we got pretty good at going up the stairs. Um, there was a little grocery store pretty much right across the street, so we had a little small refrigerator and went grocery shopping more like the Europeans do, which I think is pretty much every day or every other day, just for the smaller things, smaller necessities. Our apartment was super comfortable. We had air conditioning. We did have a guest come and stay with us for a week, and we were able to accommodate her. She was not able to participate in the group activities, but we were able to have a guest stay with us, and that worked out really well.
Can you talk about so all of the apartments have kitchens or like kitchenettes. Can you talk
Mhm.
about did you use it? Did you
Yeah.
cook in a lot or not really? Or how did that work?
Well, we had breakfast in pretty much every morning and had our coffee and tea, and we had yogurt and granola and eggs sometimes. And then usually we were out for lunch. So usually the meal that we would eat out would be lunch. Um, a lot of times for dinner, we would just either have leftovers or grab something small, make a salad. There were pre-made soups at the grocery store across the street. Sometimes we'd do that, or sometimes we'd have a happy hour with friends and we'd eat charcuterie for dinner. So our main meal was usually lunch.
Got it.
That's
Yep. And that sounds very common to what I hear a lot of people like the breakfast, like a light breakfast or maybe a light dinner in the kitchen, and it works fine. And having a
mhm.
big meal out each day.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so, and just to clarify for people, so the apartments have a kitchen or kitchenette. They have pots, pans, plates.
Mhm.
We provide toilet paper and paper towel, at
Yeah.
least to get you started. And then you're sort of like in your apartment. I don't know what it was like in yours.
They provided all of that the whole time. We
Okay.
never bought toilet paper or paper towels or anything like that. They provided the dish soap, uh, yeah, the bathroom materials. Everything was provided for us there. It was very nice. We even had an upstairs terrace. Ours was on the top floor since we had the two bedroom. The rest of the apartment, I think, was just one bedrooms or studios.
Mhm.
And we had a lovely terrace on top that we invited people over and watch the sunset. So we
Nice,
had
nice.
loved it.
Yeah, for all of our viewers, the one thing I'll mention is in most cases, in 95% of the cases, maybe, yeah, 95%, if you're not on the ground floor or on one floor up, the building will have an elevator. In a few cases, which will make very known to you that there are apartments without elevators in the case
Mhm.
of Marlis, and I think there's a case in Granada, Spain. There's just a few isolated cases, but we'll make sure you know that in advance. But for the most part, 95% of it, you'll either be ground floor, one floor up, or have an elevator.
Mhm.
Um, as Marlis mentioned, you can have visitors come stay. They just don't participate in the official scheduled community activities. But what we'll talk about is that the community sort of takes on a life of its own, and all sorts of activities start happening. And your visitors or guests can participate in any of those things. We do ask that they register with us prior to coming. It's just a policy, usually like any hotel, but we have to inform the local property management and the local authorities of who's staying there. So we have these apartments, you have people living around you, and then we have these community activities and events that are included in all of our programs. Um, and these sort of form I think of it as like a scaffolding. It's like the basic, layout of the program. And this is prototypical schedule of what it looks like over the course of a month. You arrive, just get check into your apartment, usually very tired. You've probably been flying all night. The next day, we'll do an orientation around 10 in the morning just to get you the lay of the land, where the grocery stores, if you need things for your apartment, uh, basic cultural norms, health and safety. And then we break. It's not a overdrawn thing. And then that night we'll have a welcome party where we really get to know each other, food, drinks. And then you can see we sort of hit a rhythm. There's something called the Tuesday Lunch Club is a tradition we have. And these are very intentional activities where we're trying to take you out to experience different parts of the city, try different foods. Then on Wednesdays, we do some kind of cultural activity. It varies from city to city. And then on Thursday, we do our happy hour, happy to be 55 and older hour, which again is very intentional. The places are chosen, the types of, sometimes it's simple as having some drinks, but sometimes it's in Barcelona, they do a vermouth making workshop. In Paris, they do a blind tasting of French wines. I mean, and every place has the thing that they do. Um, but it's a time to come together, have some fun, meet other people, and in many cases, learn about the local culture through its food and drink. And as you can see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday are free. And this is because we really do want this to be an independent experience where you're out and exploring. But I find what's really cool is that when you come together for your Tuesday lunch club, everyone's been out exploring, and it's fun to come see your friends again and catch up on what's been happening. And then we go through the month like this. Every city, it's slightly different in terms of the content of the activities. And then there's a farewell party, and off you go. So Marlis, just, I mean, here you can see some images. I mean, it ranges from pastry making in Paris and boat rides and etc. Marlis, tell us about some of your activities in your group and what stood out to you. What were some of your favorites?
Gosh, I I loved all of it, really. The We did a medieval painting class kind of towards the beginning, and the cool thing about that was they actually showed us how they made the dyes and the painting and the gold leaf lining in the background. And so all of the art that we saw then in Florence, there's so much of that medieval art. You had kind of this context for it of how what they went through to actually paint it. We did a belt making class, we did a pasta making class, we had an architecture tour. Um, I so towards the end of the trip, Martina, one of our community managers, said, "What are your highs and lows?" And I went, "I can't really think of any lows. I liked everything." um, we did. We had fun happy hours all in different parts of the city, so we kind of could experience different areas. Um, yeah, and then there were. You'll probably get into this, Andrew, but there were some optional paid tours we could take as well,
Yeah, did you
which
take any?
I did. I wasn't planning to take as many as I did, but one of the first days we were there, Giacomo, one of our community managers, took us on an architecture walking tour that was included, and he was so interesting. I went, I'm going to sign up for some of his tours because some of the places that I did with him, like the Duomo, if I'd gone on my own, I would have thought, Catholic art, nice. But with him, he told so much of the background and the history and just made it really interesting. So I ended up signing up for a lot more of the optional tours than I had planned, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, that's great. Yep. Giacomo is a fascinating storyteller, and I love seeing Florence through his eyes.
Yeah.
Um, so we keep talking about community, and I have this community of built-in travelers, people who live around you. What does it mean? So, first of all, for those who don't know, the Good Life Abroad is a cohort-based experience, meaning it's a group of people who are starting the experience on the same day, going through it, and for the most part, ending it on the same day. But before you even go, we have a Zoom call about a month prior to the start date of your program, where you'll meet on a Zoom with your community managers, the fellow travelers in your cohort, and actually kind of talk about the program a little bit, some pre-departure logistics. Um, and then you arrive, and then you have that orientation together, that welcome party, where we start to really get to know each other. And then what we do on the program is we use WhatsApp, which is a text messaging app that is what everyone uses in Europe and few people use in the United States, but they have a community feature and it works really well for us. as you can see in the screenshot, there's this announcements channel, and this is where our community managers and all of our programs will send you kind of what's happening, either part of the program, meet me here tomorrow, here's a link to Google Maps, at 10 a.m., and we're going to do this thing. Or they might just be sending out suggestions of interesting things that are happening around town. And then below that, you can see there's groups. And the groups are where I think the real fun comes into play because our travelers, our participants, can create their own groups. And in this example, this was an old group. There were people who wanted to go running, or I've seen groups do yoga, have a book club, have a potluck dinner. Who wants to go away for the weekend to, Madrid? Solo travelers wanted to create a group. So these things are used for just coordinating around different affinities. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the program is that you have a group of, on average, 15 people, and you're not might probably not gonna be best friends with everyone, but you're gonna find a handful of people that you really click with or have shared interests with. And I always tell the story about the guy who created the group for sports bars, and I said, Doug, are you joking? He's like, no, no, no. We're on this because my wife wants to go to cathedrals, and I could care less, and I want to go to sports bars. So he created two groups, and he's like, man, she's off and running with people who love to see cathedrals. I've never been happier, and I'm going to go watch sports at the bar. And so it's a funny example, but that's the idea is that there's a lot of other people who share interests, and it's fun to go off and explore new things with new friends, frankly. And then on average, there's some stats here. The average group size is 15, but it can go a little high, it can go down, it can be 10, 8. But on average, it's 15. On average, people are up 68. On average, about 30% of our travelers are solo travelers. But again, it varies by cohort. And about 90% from the US, roughly 10% from Canada. Um, Marlis, can you just talk to us a little bit about your community and what that meant to you and how it impacted your experience?
Yeah, the community part was huge for me, and that was a big part of the draw of this. Um, we really did hit it off with a lot of the people, and it was just fun to be in the same apartment building. You walk out, right next door was this lovely couple. Oh, do you want to go to lunch? Yeah, let's go to Lucca for the day. Let's catch the train and go somewhere. Um, there were probably at least five solo travelers, and I think they all felt very included. It wasn't a thing that felt too coupley, if that makes sense. It was a very inclusive group. One lady had a little difficulty with walking, and everyone really looked out for her, which I just thought was lovely. The way people looked out for each other. So yeah, the community part was great. In fact, I remained friends with, well, one of the couples. I texted when I decided to go back to Lake Como, and 10 minutes later, she texted back and said, we're going to go now too, because you guys were so much fun to be with.
Oh.
Joe and Kathy. Yeah. And another lady, Mary Sue, one of your frequent flyers there, has invited my friend and I to go visit her in Savannah. So we've made some friendships that are actually lasting beyond just the trip too, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool. And I think, from what I've seen, that's a very common experience. Many people underestimate how
Mm.
important community will become during their program. They're like, I'm just going to go see my thing. And then over the course of the month, they're like, wow, actually, these people are really cool, share maybe some similar values in terms of a love of cultural immersion or cultural appreciation. They tend to be pretty well-traveled people. What do you think, Marlis, is like the thread that kind of connects our community members?
Yeah. Just maybe a sense of adventure, a love of travel. I really felt the whole group was so inclusive and kind too. I mean, I don't know, I can only speak for my group, but they really did look out for each other. So I have to imagine they valued the idea of community
Yeah.
when they joined up for a group like this.
I think that's it. I think we, over time, have realized the value of our community, and we really try to promote that front and center in our communications. And therefore, it then attracts a certain type of person who also values it. And when they come on, they get it. Like this is, and fundamentally, a community is people who share a similar interest, but who also look out for each other. They've got each other's back. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really wonderful thing.
Yeah.
All right, so who's the glue that holds this community together? These are our community managers, and I love these people. These are special human beings on this planet, and they are the people who organize these activities. They're physically at these activities so that you can have some FaceTime with them and ask some questions and whatnot. But they're also available to help you make the most out of your time in that city with us. And so often what they'll do is right at the start of the program, they'll meet with you one-on-one or if it's a couple and just sort of do an intake. Like, what do you want to get out of this month? What are things you hope to accomplish? Whether you're wanting to brush up on your high school French, or you are a foodie who wants to learn how to make Spanish cuisine, or you are a history buff and want to dive deep into Renaissance art in Florence, whatever it is, or if you simply like, hey, I want to just travel to the neighboring towns, they will help you figure out a plan how to do that. Um, and then they're also available on text message from WhatsApp from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So they're sort of like your local friend who lives in that city, who kind of knows everything that's happening in town, um, and there to support you. And they're just like a text message away. Marlis, can you talk to us a little bit about the community managers in your program and how did they impact your experience?
Well, we had Giacomo and Martina, and I don't know the other community managers, but to me, they're probably the best. They're the best out there. I'm sure they're all great like that, actually.
Everyone says that too about all the cities.
Okay, yeah, yeah. They were just they're very knowledgeable. I would think both of them could be teaching at the college level, just their backgrounds, uh, their knowledge of the area, the history, the cities we went to, the tours we took. Just Martina knows about wine. She's from Siena and knows all about the interesting cultural history of that city. Um, yeah, no, they were great. They're so supportive, so kind, and they just acted like they seemed to really care and like us, and that just made us just adore them. So, and they had a great story about the first trip to Florence where I believe there was a 90 something year old woman whose refrigerator didn't work or something. What do you remember that story?
I
And
don't
they
remember the details, but yeah, we look back and laugh at those early groups quite a bit.
yeah, there was some woman and they had to get a refrigerator, so they actually lugged one down the street. You know, it's a European size small one, but we just kind of laughed over that story that these guys are dedicated. They lugged a refrigerator down the street to make sure that she had her refrigerator. So.
Yeah, they are great. And so how did you interact with, like, what did they help you with, like specifically over
Oh,
the course of a month?
um, well, for example, every weekend, Martino usually would send out a list of what's going on in the city. So, oh,
Hmm,
there's a little, off the wall art exhibit, or there's a German Christmas market, or a Norwegian Christmas market. Things that we wouldn't really know how to access. That was one thing. Yeah, and if we just needed help with something like how to get a taxi, I could text and they could help us with that.
got it. Got it. Cool. Yeah, they are just wonderful people, our community managers, and they specifically Martina and Jaco, I remember them. They work as a guide. Many of our community managers
Mhm.
work in tourism. They worked as guides or they worked on cruise ships. And one of the things they told me is this is so different because we're spending a month with them. Like we're becoming like their friends.
Yeah.
And versus being a guide, someone comes in for a day or maybe 3 days of a tour, but a month, you really start to develop personal relationships with them. That's cool.
Yeah, very
Um,
much.
so all these cool things we're talking about, but I also want to say this is not for everyone. This program is not for everyone. First of all, like this is not a tour. Um, we don't pick you up in a bus and take you places. You really are independent, the intention is that you're getting places on your own. We'll send you a link in Google Maps, and you get there through walking or public transportation. And things move a little more slowly too. In some of our cities, uh, maybe there's an issue with something in your apartment when you contact the property management company to fix it. It's like, okay, we'll get there tomorrow. It's not American time, so things slow. There's a lot of walking involved, and even though we can provide most of our apartments with elevators, there's a lot of old buildings in Europe that don't have elevators, that you still may need to walk up one or two flights of stairs. And even though there's public transportation, if you think about like a city like Barcelona that has wonderful public transportation, you're still walking from wherever you are to the public transportation stop, taking it, and then walking to your final destination. So there is
Mhm.
still a lot of physical movement in our program. And there's the notice about the visitors, which we talked about before. So these are some things I think people should consider whether this is right for them or not. Marlis, are there any challenges that you encountered or things you would maybe were fine with, but you would want to warn other people about?
Yeah, if you're not a good walker, it would be tough in for sure in Florence. I mean, we walked a lot in the streets. It's cobblestone streets, and um, there isn't going to be a van coming to pick you up like on a tour, for example, at your front door. You're going to be walking a lot. And if you're not comfortable using like GPS to find, say, the happy hour that's, maybe a mile or two across town, you need to feel a certain level of comfort to be able to get around on your own. So if you're not kind of independent, if you don't have good walking mobility, it may not be for you.
I think you also mentioned another thing that's important, which is surmountable, which is technology. We do
Mm-hmm.
rely to some degree on people's ability to use a smartphone. Google Maps, because we're sending links to meet places on a map, using GPS to navigate, using WhatsApp is our primary tool for communication. And so, and we'll teach you these things. We can, guide you on how to use WhatsApp. Uh, but fundamentally, there is a layer of technology that is runs across our program. So you do have to be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Uh, is there anything else?
No, I was going to say, like, if Florence had Uber, like we have Uber here or Lyft, that might have helped one or two of the people in our group get around, but it wasn't really an option. So that'd be the main thing for me, the mobility issues.
Yeah. And if you do have mobility issues, I would say contact our office. The program is not like a no-go by any means. Different cities have different levels of accessibility, and our staff can help guide you to the right places. For example, Lisbon has steep hills. That is a definitely no-go if walking is difficult for you. However, other cities are more accessible, and we can guide you based on your specific needs. Um, so yeah, lots of great experiences, lots of fun things. But Marlis, is there some like you know, things you didn't like, things that warnings or things, low points or challenges?
There's nothing I didn't like, but I would have to say I almost like some of the smaller places more than we saw David in the academia, and that was great, and the Uffizi, which is all this wonderful art. But I actually preferred. I went to a small Toulouse-Lautrec show one day, and another time we went to a National Geographic art show in like an old mansion, and some of those things were really my favorite outings more than the really big sites that you see in the city.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's a really, really good point. Because that's the beauty of being there for a month, right? You want to
yeah,
just
I
kind of
got
speak to that?
yeah. One thing that was one of my favorite things to do was I do love to walk, and sometimes we would be back in our apartment, and around 4:30 or so, I would just head out on my own. And in Florence, they had the Christmas lights came up later in November, and I would just wander these little maze streets, and these gorgeous Christmas lights were hanging down or going across the streets. And you go around a corner, and you're not sure, am I going to see like a tower or a beautiful storefront? Or it was just like it was magical. Just those times when you could go and wander on your own, and I felt completely safe, even though it was dark out. And that's kind of thing you don't get to do if you are just in and out of a city.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the a lot of opportunity for serendipitous encounters. Like, oh, I didn't know there was something happening here, but hey, I've
Yeah.
got time. Let's go do it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
There's a street musician singing opera or something like that.
yeah, exactly. All right, so people have been watching this. They're like, okay, this seems kind of interesting. What's the next step? So if you're interested in booking, you can click now. Even if you don't want to book, you just want to see the dates and prices, you can click the book now button. Um, and you'll see you can search as filters like which city, what time of the year, what year, this year, that year, following year. Um, and then the price, you'll see the prices, and it depends on if you want a one-bedroom apartment or two-bedroom apartment. In some cities, we have studio apartments. Um, and it includes all of the schedule activities. So like the Tuesday lunch club, those lunches are 2 hour long lunches of food and wine and the happy hours. And a happy hour in Europe always includes a little bit of food as well. They don't, it's not just drinks, they do it upright. The month-long program is 30 nights. All the apartments have high-speed Wi-Fi. We clean the apartments, or service cleans the apartments once a week. You have a community manager. So everything we've talked about is included in that program fee. What it does not include is your airfare, your transfers, groceries, and any optional tours. As Marlis mentioned in Florence, there's some available, but no pressure to buy those optional tours. You can go online and just book them through whatever travel website you want to book as well. But we offer this because it's exclusive to our members. So you're going with other people from the Good Life Abroad. It's $495 per person to hold your spot, and then 50% is kind of due up front, and then the last 50% is due before you go. And we have a cancellation policy that gets less refundable the closer you get to the start date of the program. Um, all right, so this is a time for people to think about their questions. Marlis, you also have a minute or two if you just want to riff about any thoughts, ruminations,
Mhm.
or anything you'd like to share. But otherwise, we'll start going into the questions.
I personally, it was really one of the best travel experiences of my life with the community, with the slow travel, with the chance just to wander. And I mean, Florence is such a fabulous city. And I loved being there in off season too, when it wasn't wall to wall people.
That's a
I,
great point.
yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
That's great. Thank you. All right, so let's dive into this. So we have a question on pets. So it's a tough one because I have a dog and I love my dog. Um, and so we'll take so unfortunately, the apartments that we have are not able to accommodate pets. However, what people do is they use the bring your own housing option that we have, and we can kind of point you in the direction of pet-friendly housing that's still in the exact same area where we are, and then you can get your apartment there, bring your pet, and you can then be part of the community because it's bring your own housing is everything, 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 including our community manager, insurance, etc., except for the housing. So we use pet-friendly housing. Again, if you have questions, please do not raise your hand. Use the Q&A box in the Zoom toolbar. It's a little blue or a little box that says Q&A, and then put your questions in there. And we'll get to as many questions as we can during the time we have. Do any apartments accommodate two couples if we travel with friends? Absolutely. That's quite common, actually. And most of our cities, not all, but most of them, we offer two-bedroom apartments, and we often will have two couples come and then they have their own bedroom. They share the common space. That makes it extremely economical for people because you're splitting it. Um, and people ask like, I'm a solo traveler. Is there a solo supplement, like a single traveler supplement? No, it's just the apartments, right? Smaller apartments cost more, bigger apartments, or vice versa. Smaller apartments cost less, bigger apartments cost more. And so the more people that share an apartment, like Marlos and your friend, share two. So you split it, and that was less expensive than getting two separate one-bedroom apartments. In some cities, we have studio apartments, which is really great for solo travelers because those are less expensive as well. So, so we talked. Okay, there's another one on pets, but we mentioned that on free days, can you leave the area and even the country? For example, to go from France to Italy for the weekend. Marlos, yeah, we didn't talk about this. Can you talk about in your group? Because this is common.
Yeah. Yeah. People did a lot of trips. I don't know that they left the country, but people went all over Italy on our off days for sure.
Yeah, I would say on average, when I've seen about half the people kind of use our program as a home base. and then on the
Mhm.
weekends go off. And it depends on the location, but it's easy to leave the country or
Yeah.
definitely go to other cities in the region. And Europe has a great high speed rail network. So I
Mhm.
mean, from Florence, you could go to Rome for the day and back. It's about 3 hours. It's a long day, or an overnight, or you go to Venice,
Yeah.
or but a lot of these towns. Like you went to Lucca, it sounded like just for the day.
Went to, yeah, we went more local. People went to Milan, Venice. Um, yeah, we debated Cinque Terre, but the weather wasn't really
Right.
too conducive for that. But
Um, yeah, and then in Spain, the high-speed rail network is from Barcelona. You can go a lot of places, and same with Madrid. So I think people get the idea that it's very easy to. And the other thing I would mention though is that these activities, they're not mandatory. I mean, you can be as social as you want to be or as independent as you want to be. Did you go to all the activities or did you skip some or how did you approach that, Marlis?
I didn't want to miss our activities because they were all so good. Yeah, I think I missed one happy hour because we had a guest in town and we had just had a busy day. But besides that, we did all the activities. But
Got
you
it.
don't have to. Some people didn't.
Yeah, it's up to the individual.
Yeah.
Uh, isn't leaving the weekends open subjecting the group to the most crowded days of the week versus midweek? No, the weekends are open, but every day is open. I mean, the days where you have activity is like one activity. It's just like a 2 hour lunch. I mean, we don't pack the days. It's not a tour. You are, and again, people don't if they want to do something like go to the Uffizi Gallery, which does gets very crowded for most of the year, and you want to, but even there, our community managers could help guide
Mhm.
you to when to go when it's not crowded. Because you can go to Uffizi Gallery on a weekend, but if you know the time, and they will help you, it's usually the evening, the last wave, and you can get in and it's not very crowded at all. Anyway, the point is that our community managers are super helpful and can help you
Mhm.
avoid crowds.
Yeah.
Um, is there transportation to and from the airport available? How did you get from the airport to your apartment?
We took the taxi.
Yeah, that's what most
Yeah.
people do. They get to the airport. In most cities, you just get on the taxi line, show them the address, they take you right there. In some cities, there's Uber. There technically is Uber in Florence, but it's more expensive than a taxi, so you don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
See, there was a
and
train as well, but we didn't.
and yeah, if you really want to be adventurous, there's a tram you can do that takes you to the train station, and from the train station, you do a shorter taxi. Now, if people really don't want to take a taxi for whatever reason, there are companies that specialize in airport transfers. They're much more expensive, but it is possible. Do the apartments have Wi-Fi? Yes. Advice on the time of the year. This is a great question. So we don't run programs in July and August in most of our cities. And a few of them we do because we have people who are educators as well and say, look, that's the time I have. And
Mhm.
we usually do that in the northern European cities where it doesn't get quite as hot. But the for the most part, uh, there's a beauty to being in these places at different times of the year. Marlis, you were there in November. We have a lot of people
Mhm.
say, I would never go in November. It's not so warm. It's going to be chilly. Well, first of all, it's totally irrelative. My folks in Minnesota, they're like, that's not, hold my beer. That's not chilly. But so it depends. And you were talking about the Christmas lights, and there's a whole other vibe. And I've been to Florence
Yeah.
many times, but I know what you're talking about. It's gorgeous. But I also love being in Florence in the spring. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, do you want to speak to the time of the year at all, or?
We were there from November 8th to December 8th, and the first 2 weeks were actually pretty warm. Like I would go out with just a sweater. The second 2 weeks were colder, but of course, I planned for that and it was fine. And I prefer that to being, like I said, wall to wall people when Europe has just gotten so crowded in
Yeah.
in the summer. I think that I would far prefer to go when it's colder but less people.
I would also say for those in the northern states or our Canadian friends,
Yeah.
to look at, we have some sessions in January and February, mostly in the southern Mediterranean, like southern Spain, southern France. Southern Italy. We have program in Sardinia and Palermo, where even in January, I mean, it's not hot, it's not, but it's not cold, it's not freezing cold by any means. A sweater would suffice. And so I encourage people to look at those off-season dates as well.
Mhm.
When will 2028 be available? I'm ready to book for that year. I love the planners in the world. 2028 will, the first half of 2028 dates will be available in June of this year. We basically publish dates 18 months in advance, partly due to the fact that our suppliers of housing don't even have their pricing ready very far in advance. So we push them and we can do about 18 months into the future. Do the apartments have washer dryer? This is a great question around laundry. Florence is a little different. So let me give the general answer and then you can give the Florence answer. Um, General answer is in the individual apartments in most of the cities, there is a washer and not a dryer. There is drying racks provided. Occasionally, you'll run into one that has a washer dryer combo, and the truth is the it takes like 8 hours and your clothes come out damp. So in the end, you're still going to use the drying rack. So we say just plan on a washer and a drying rack. Now, Florence and just a couple other places are a little different. You want to talk to that, Marlis?
Yeah, we had a washer and dryer in the basement. So
Like a laundry
um,
room.
it was a laundry room. Yeah. And the dryer is very different than ours. It's very slow.
Yeah, exactly. And the
Close to
other thing I'll mention is some people, I know in Florence and other cities, they said, you know what? There's a laundromat around the corner that just drop your clothes off. They'll do it, and I'll pick it up the next day, and everything will
Yeah.
be dried and folded, and so I don't want to deal with it, and that actually is me. So there's also laundromats that just are full service, will handle it for you. When will you be going to South America? Oh boy. It's not out of the question, but right now there's still a lot of places in Europe that are big gaps in our portfolio, and we want to. I hear from you all. You send emails, you post things on Facebook. When are you going to be in Germany? When are you going to be in Ireland? When are you going to be in Denmark or Sweden? I know there's so many places to get to, and we're working on it. We're always expanding. We've grown quite a bit in the past few years, and so South America not out of the question, not off the table, but there's still places in Europe we want to get to over the next couple of years. Does a community manager help recommend and organize weekend trips and suggestions, etc.? Um, so I'll give like the general answer, and Marlis, you can speak specifically. So the community manager can recommend things, can recommend if, oh, you're going to go to Venice. Oh, this is something you should check out. Here are like some places you might want to consider staying. They won't book things for you, but they will provide you like, here's the link to book your train ticket and things like that. So they can offer up the information. They can try to make it as easy as possible for you to execute on it, but they don't actually do it for you. Um, Marlis, do you have anything to add to that specifically?
Yeah. They're not like a travel agent. They're more like they give you some good counsel on it. But like the
Yeah.
day we went to Luca, they helped us. They, I think Martina told us about 4 or 5 great restaurants we could try, maybe just a few sites to see. But
Got it. Oh.
yeah, they don't book it for you.
Yeah, they're not like the hotel concierge that calls up and books it for you.
Yeah.
Does it are guides employed by private tour companies as well? Okay, so I think the question is, are the community managers also working as guides in other companies? And then there's a separate question sort of about tipping them.
Mm.
So our community managers, when they're with you, they work for us. Period, full stop. Some of them um, maybe half the cities. They also work as guides when they're not with our groups, and in most cases, they are a 1 or 2 person company of their own, that they have their own tour business, and then they work with groups that they get on their own. But when they're with us, they work for us. And for tipping, Marlos, you want to speak to the case of Florence? What did you all decide on tipping?
Yeah, I wondered the same thing because I thought, do I now that I'm doing optional tours with them, do I give them a tip at the end of each optional tour? But none of us did. We all seemed to give them a gift at the end. We had a going away dinner last night, and um, my friend and I gave them an envelope with a nice tip, and it looked like most people were doing the same thing.
So yeah, our community managers, as I said, they're employed by us and we pay them a salary, pay them a nice wage. But people often feel just a lot of gratitude and want to give them something. And we give a wide range because it's completely optional and up to you. But if you insist on a range, would say from 50 to $100 per person for the month.
Hmm.
Um, and that's sort of up to each person.
Yeah.
Um, I okay, next one. I didn't get to see the pricing. Um, so you go to our website and you can scroll down the homepage and says see dates and pricing. You click there, and there's a filter, and you have to put in multiple variables. Which city? The cities range wildly in price. You can imagine Paris. Well, actually, Amsterdam is the most expensive city for housing in the EU. I don't know if people know that. Amsterdam by far. Um, and then you have places like Sardinia that are much less. So it's a wide range. Then you have to put in the number of people. Do you want a studio, one bedroom, or two bedroom? So it's not like just a price. There's this wide range. You have to put those things in, and then it'll spit out prices and dates. The only thing that's sort of a flat is if you do the bring your own housing option, that's $2,500 per person for 1 month. Program seems expensive. Solo travelers. Solo travelers often travel with a friend. Do all cities have two-bedroom apartments? Okay. Not all cities have two-bedroom apartments, but what a lot of if solo travelers are worried about budget, what they'll often do is they bring your own housing and then go look for a low-cost apartment or even a hotel room if they don't mind just being in a hotel room. But I think when people start doing the research, they're like, oh, wait, a hotel in a European city is going to cost more. You're going to get a hotel room for about the price of the program fee with the Good Life Abroad. And it's just a hotel room, not an apartment with a living area and kitchen. So I think when people have some ideas in their head about what things cost, but when they dive into the numbers, they're like, oh, actually, the Good Life Abroad's pretty reasonable option for what you get. I don't know how you thought about that when you were considering the cost, Marlis.
Yeah, I think you get a lot for your money. I've done some river cruises in Europe, and they're about 8 to 10 days. And I feel like I paid about the same price for the river cruise for 8 to 10 days as I did for a whole month in Florence.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from people. Like, of course, the
Yeah.
river cruise includes maybe all the meals and things, but it's sort of
Yep.
like apples and oranges, but they cost about the same when you add it all together. One is more of a 10-day experience, and the other is a 30-day experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, can you have things shipped to the apartment? Uh,
I'm laughing. One did, but it
you
didn't work
did.
out. I didn't, but one of our friends on the trip, Joe and Kathy, did, and they ended up getting a huge tariff fee. So it
Yeah.
cost a lot of money to ship their stuff. They could have bought it in Florence for half the price, probably.
Yeah, yeah. I tell people don't ship things, but in this case, I think they're specifically asking about medicines, and I would say
Ah,
please, for everyone, make sure you talk to your doctor and tell them you'll be traveling and to bring an extra refill of your medicines while you're on our program. Can your guests be younger, and how long can they stay? Yes, your guests can be your visitors that come in can be younger. I know when they found out grandparents have an apartment in Europe, suddenly they're like, I'm coming. And so and they can stay for as long as you want. It's your apartment. But as we said, they just don't participate in the community activities. Precisely because of this. If you have, an 18-year-old for, a week, it's just a different dynamic in the group. And we like to, and if everyone has visitors, then the whole dynamic of the group kind of goes up in smoke. Um, do you get to see the apartment in advance? Yes, we can. We have photos on the website right now of kind of sample apartments from all of our cities, and then when you book, you I think like now it's like 4 or 5 months in advance. You'll get like there lot of specific apartment photos of your apartment. I know the team is working on trying to provide those images further and further in advance. Sometimes it's a little tricky because in some cases it's a whole building. It's like a giant, think of it as like a hotel. They're just all the same apartment. And the property management company will say, okay, you get number 302 and you get number 306. They just say, you're getting a one bedroom standard apartment and you don't know if it's 302 or 306, but it doesn't really matter because they're all identical. So if you need to travel on a budget, yeah, will we know the area we're staying so we can try to book close? Yeah, so that's exactly how the bring your own housing works is you book that $2,500 for a month, and then we'll share with you the exact location. It's no secret where people are staying. And say, okay, they're either all in this building or they're all in this neighborhood, and you can book your own apartment right there. Um, Okay, what sort of interaction is there with local people, and is there any language instruction available? Um, Let me answer the language part, and then Marlis, if you want to talk about just like interactions with locals. So we typically do like a very basic crash course on some phrases because we do think it's important to, have basic phrases and greetings. So when you walk into a restaurant or a store in Paris, you can say, bonjour and parlez anglais, and then they quickly realize you don't speak French, and then you enter into a conversation with broken English and some sign language, and it's beautiful. And that's I always find it really interesting, but it's good. We try to give you enough to show that you're making the effort. It is not a comprehensive language class. If you want comprehensive language classes, our community managers can connect you to that. And we have people who say, no, I want to dive into my Italian that I took in college. You can take language classes. But that's a separate thing that we can connect you to. Now, in terms of general interaction with locals, Marlis, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, mainly just there was a shoe store right on the corner of where our apartment was, so we'd always wave and say hello. And there was a local gelato shop right around the corner, so became familiar with those owners. But in general, most of my local contacts were really the community managers.
Got it. Yep. Uh, let's see. How do I find the pricing page? Okay, I think we answered that one. Uh, do you offer solo travelers the opportunity to share an apartment to save costs? We used to. We used to have a roommate program, and that kind of blew up because the last minute one person would cancel, and then the other person would have to pay the fee, or they turn out they didn't like each other, and then they were coming in at us, and we said, you know what, we're not getting involved in this. We have a private Facebook group called the Good Life Abroad Community. And we encourage people to join that because it's thousands of past travelers and present travelers all sort of posting. And I encourage people, if you're solo and you're looking for someone else to travel with, to post, like, I'm solo, anyone else interested in joining me? That's a great way to make a connection. Have a call, see if you're compatible. Are you a late person? Are you a morning person? Are you clean? Are you messy, etc.? And then go from there. But like I said, solo travelers in many cities, we also have a studio apartment option, which is less expensive. So that's another good thing to look at if you're traveling solo. I'd like a full disclosure of the actual cost for the apartment service. The full disclosure is to go to the website, click prices and dates, put in your variables. There's a lot of variables, and it will give you the full disclosure, exact price that you're looking for. The question, I think, the better question is, okay, in addition to the program fee, like roughly how much are we spending on all the other stuff? Do you have any guidance, Marlis, on kind of, and let's say you can blow infinite amount of money on going to fancy, Michelin starred restaurants every day and going on tours every day. So let's say strip that apart, just like day-to-day living for a month. You have a rough idea of what you spent?
Oh gosh, I don't know because I wasn't going planning on booking so many optional tours that I ended up booking because they were so appealing.
All
So
right.
yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it really depends on if you want, like you said, the luxury dinner experience or if you're going to grab a piece of pizza.
Yeah,
Um,
I what I've heard from people is it's about $1,000 per person, and that would be like making some meals at home, maybe having lunches out, but not in fancy places.
yeah,
1,000 to 1,500 per person, um, and then go up from there if you want to get more
yeah,
wild with your dining adventures.
yeah.
Um, if two people are traveling, Okay, if two women are traveling together and want separate rooms, do we pay double?
Well, it's
Uh,
the two bedroom. That's what we did, maybe.
exactly. That's exactly what Marla said, which is she booked the two bedroom, which is
Yeah.
cheaper than booking two separate one bedrooms. So it's not quite double. Um, okay. The question here is which location is best for beaches and what month to enjoy the ocean? Oh boy.
Mhm.
I'll do it real quick because we're running out of time here. Valencia has a beach right in part of the city. Sardinia, Cagliari, Sardinia has a beach. Take the bus, it's 5 minutes away. Right there, beautiful, long, mile-long stretch of beach. Split, Croatia, beautiful beaches. I was swimming in October. Um, Palermo, okay, that's outside. There is a beach in town, but I prefer the one that's about 45 minutes outside of town. Much nicer beach. That's great. And you're so far south in the Mediterranean. Again, I was swimming there in November. Um, Lisbon has beaches, but it's like not in the city. You have to go outside of the city. Um, Malaga, another one. Our apartments are walking distance to the beach, 5 minute walk to the beach. And again, that's right on the southern coast of Spain. And that you can go in February and March. Great place if you want a beach location. Um, I'm a hiker photographer, not a city person. Which of your locations have hiking nearby? Maybe Lake Como. Yeah, and the crazy thing, Como for sure, but what's crazy is that in Europe, some of our smaller cities, even the bigger ones like Barcelona, you can get out of town really easily on public transit. I know in Florence, I went hiking in Florence and I just took the local bus up to Fiesole and then there was a trailhead. Did you do any hiking, Marlis?
I didn't do any hiking, but I did go to Fiesole and it was lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and from there's a trailhead, and I did like a 3 hour hike, and it was beautiful views, and that was quite good. In Barcelona, you can actually ride your bike. There's a bike path, and you ride up to wineries just north of Barcelona, so you can easily get out of town. So I would say for that kind of question, I would contact our office, and we can dive more into depth, look at different options. How often are groups of friends going, or is it mostly groups of couples and solos that don't know each other? I would say it's mostly groups of couples and solos that don't know each other. What's happening now, as we've been around for a few years, people meet on these programs and go, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And just like Marlis is doing in Lake Como, then they stay in touch and then they go do another program and another program. So every year we're in existence, more people become friends, which is a good thing, a compliment to us. Is there a waiting list? Yes, many of our programs for 2026 are sold out. Not all of them, but there are waiting lists because people do cancel. And if there's a cancellation, people can jump in. We'll contact you. Uh, okay. You say 2 week trips have accommodations in a hotel rather than apartment? Okay. This is a more detailed answer. In three of the 6 short stays, the 2 week short stay programs, we are in what are called apart hotels, which is kind of like a hotel, but they're apartments. And there's like a front desk and like a lounge common area. So in Edinburgh, in Crete, in London, they're like that. In Como and in Granada and in the next one that I'm not remembering, uh, they are apartments, but they're all in the same building. But it's not this hotel feeling. It's not like a big building full of apartments. It's a small building with apartments, but everyone's in the same spot.
Mm.
So it's a slight differentiation. Okay, we are over time. But yeah. So I would say if we didn't get to your question, I'm very sorry. But I want to be respectful of time. You can always contact our office. Just send an email, info at thegoodlifeabroad.com. And we've got a team of people who can answer your questions. I know some specific questions in here. The one question, how far in advance can you book? As I mentioned, we roll out dates 18 months into the future. Most people are booking 9 to 12 months in advance. Some people can book a little shorter. We do still have a lot of space on some of our short stays and some month-long programs for this fall. September, October, November, there's some availability if you want to go this year. Otherwise, most people are starting to book for next year. If you and you can call the number on our website and talk to someone, or send an email. Or the best thing is often to just schedule a time for a Zoom one-on-one consultation, and we can do a video chat and see each other and kind of have a better connection. So thank you, Marlis. I know we're over time. Thank you for taking this time. I really appreciate it. I know our viewers liked it as well because it gave them the chance to see a real human being's experience and learn what it was all about. So I appreciate that very much. Any parting
My
words?
pleasure.
All right.
Just if you're thinking about it, I would do it. You can Airbnb on your own, but you get 10 times the value by going with a group like this and having the community. Yeah,
It's a
it's a
great
great
point.
program. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.